Luciano Bonilla, passing the baton. Passing the baton. Luciano Bonilla.
Kids these days are so distracted. You can't seem to grab their attention. But there's one thing that can command the attention of squirrely teens. No, it's not pizza. No, it's not electronics. It's a conductor's baton. Mr. Contest Master, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. One of the hardest jobs today is that of a teacher. And one educator that has my utmost respect is that of a music teacher. With the wave of their baton, they can command a whole room of 50 young adults. And there's two special music teachers that have been part of my life, that as they conducted the band, not only did I learn to listen and follow and become a great musician, but they passed the baton down to me with lessons, life lessons that I hold dear to this day. Let's take a trip back to middle school. Yeah, that awkward time in one's life where it's socially awkward and there's so much chaos around. And my life was not an exception. I remember wearing these big Urkel glasses. For some reason, they're popular today. I don't know why. And I had a hard time finding my place. But there was this one place that was my sanctuary, a place of refuge from the chaos of middle school. And that was the band room. At the heart of the band room was my middle school band director, Mr. Weaver. And what was special about Mr. Weaver is that to this day, he is a professional musician. And he would take lessons from the bandstand and bring them in to the band room. As he was leading the band, he was passing the baton, giving us knowledge from professional life and treating us like professional musicians. Whether it be while we're reading a piece of music, there would be a repeat sign that tells us to go back to the beginning of a section. And as we were reading the music, he said, it's okay to mess up once, but if you make the same mistake twice, they won't call you back to the gig. Or this one time when I was playing lead trumpet in the middle school jazz band. And lead trumpet in a big band has big shoes to fill because all the horns listen back up to that lead trumpet player. And so we were playing this new piece of music. We were playing along. And I was starting to sweat because this was a hard song. And I felt myself holding back. And then out of nowhere, Mr. Weir stops the song. He said, stop. He gets up, shakes the stand and says, if you mess up, it's better that you mess big. Mess up big. Don't hesitate. I was taken aback. But I remember that lesson that he was teaching me in that moment. He was passing the baton in that moment, teaching me that as a leader, it is better to live with conviction than to hesitate in the moment. So as you can see, not only band, but Mr. Weaver gave me these valuable lessons. And I developed these great relationships in middle school band. And as I was transitioning to high school, I was anxious because some of these relationships I developed, especially with Mr. Weaver, would go away as I went to a high school in a different zone. But there was a great transition between middle school and high school, and that was high school marching band. Yes, you've heard all the jokes about marching band, band camp, but it truly was a wonderful time. It was a 1 week before high school started. And in that time, I grew these bonds with these upperclassmen. And really, that culture was built up by my high school band director, Mr. Ulrich. He was passing the baton to the upperclassmen, teaching them the values of leadership and mentorship, of pouring down to the underclassmen. And by the end of that marching band camp week, I grew these bonds and I looked up to the upperclassmen. And this couldn't be so true in a moment of crisis in my life. It was my freshman year, and my father passed away. That event could be crucial. It could be hard for any teen, not let alone my life. And I remember this one moment when the doorbell rang and I opened the door, and it was the band captain of the band, a leader in the band. And he told me and my family, "Lou, we're sorry for your loss. And if you need anything, don't hesitate to ask." And I remember that moment. That moment stuck with me as I became an upperclassman and became a leader in the band. In essence, he was passing the baton to me as I became an upperclassman. And those lessons that I learned, not only from Mr. Ulrich and Mr. Weaver, they live on to this day as I became an educator myself. And I look to the students that are before me, and I realize, and I ask myself, how am I conducting my life? Because they're watching and following. And I want to leave you with this. You might not be a teacher, you might not be an educator, but there are people who look up to you. There are people who are following you. How are you conducting your life? How are you passing the baton to the next generation? Because in the end, that's how we can create this beautiful symphony of music of life. And once again, how are you passing the baton? Mr. Contest Master,